Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about the rest of the NBA playoffs. We are down to just four teams. We have the Warriors and the Mavs, the Heat and the Celtics.
Game 7, I loved it. I mean, I think Luka just showed his dominance. And, going into that series, that game 7, we said it was going to be whichever all stars showed up. And I think Luka showed up. I think their whole team showed up in general. And I don't think Phoenix rose to the occasion. I mean, we talked about it a little bit off stream. It was they scored 10 points in the second quarter. I mean, you score 10 points
Crazy.
in almost any quarter. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna get to the next game because there's another stat that's even mind-boggling there. But 10 points in the second quarter, and they literally just gave it to him.
I would thought it would have been way closer than it was.
Yeah,
Like
I
there's
know.
there's no there's
That was the
no
craziest part about it. Yeah.
excuse.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for why the Suns got blown out of the water
Yeah.
to this Mavericks team. In all parts, there's sure Luka can maybe drop 30 something on you, but you're telling me that this Mavericks team defensively held your team to less than 20 points for 2 quarters,
Yeah.
and you guys are the returning champion contenders, and you guys couldn't do it, and you guys were the best record in the league, and you guys couldn't do it. So that's not a knock on the Mavericks at all, but the Suns just crap the bed. There's just no way about it. Like,
He is
so
not.
wait, do we want to go into that now? Might as well,
I,
right?
I do want to bring that in because I was
Okay,
like, there's no
cool.
point.
Yeah, we
there's
might
no
as
point
well
in
right
waiting
now
because
since
we're talking about the
Yeah.
Suns
We're
already.
talking about
We
the
don't
Suns, so
point to bring the fact. I will say it. I think it leans into a little bit of what Pat Bev was saying. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on what you guys think about what Pat Bev said, how it was handled, Matt Barnes' reaction, any of that came to mind. I'll start with you, Jared. What do you think about do you think this is a knock on Chris Paul's legacy? Do you think that Pat Bev was out of his mind for saying what he said? Is this any sort of what is your reaction to what was
I
said?
would say I saw both sides to it, and to be honest though, I kind of agree. You can't be up 2-0 in a series and be the man, and Chris Paul is supposed to be their floor general, their leader, their locker room leader, on and off the court, like, and for him not to be able to like even just rally the troops. I'm gonna bring it a little bit back to the game. You had your top point getter get 12 points, and it wasn't even one of the 5 starters. Booker had 11. I think 2 other people had 10. And you look at it, it's not just a poor like shooting performance. It's I think poor leadership. Just knowing that you're the man, you got to step up, and it's happened time and time and time and time and time again through his career. I mean, like we talked about, I love Chris Paul. I want to see him get a chip. I want him to be that successful because I do think he's a good player. But when it comes all the way down to it, like, I just there's something about it that just doesn't seem right, in a sense of how he doesn't have that I don't even know what the word is, but to lead that team, to get them over that little hump. Like, he can get you there. He'll get you there. He's gotten so many teams there, and look, he put him up 2-0, but he just couldn't finish it. And so, for me, that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Chris Paul is a known scorer, mid-range, his ability to get to the rack, even if it's just finesse. You have Ayton. I think Ayton only was sub 20 minutes that game.
Yeah.
Wasn't even in foul trouble. The fact that because kind of going back how Keone prompted it, like, the reason, I don't know why they wouldn't use Ayton more. You have big men like Powell and Maxi Kleber and Kleber on the Mavs. I would continually been using Ayton as much as I can, even if like the players he's defending are stretch. There's no issue with allowing at least Maxi or Powell to be the ones that are scoring on you in comparison to Brunson, Dinwiddie, and Luka. I think that it's kind of, I don't know if it was a coaching rotation issue. I don't know if it was something that just they were just like, oh yeah, I think Ayton's not the business for us right now for this game.
For me, I think part of it is you have to have a guy like Chris Paul who's in the locker room, who is a leader, who you brought on to kind of get you to this point, to be like, hey, I want to keep this guy, make something happen. And I don't think he did that. So I think that actually ultimately, so this is going into my point with the Pat Bev discussion was that I think that Pat Bev kind of hit it on the nail with Chris Paul. I mean, we've seen him. He produces at a high level. He's a great player. He can get his team there, but when it really counts, he cannot get past that proverbial hump that Jared
And
was talking about.
I'll say
He's
this though,
not he's not the killer that he
because
should be in these moments.
Chris Paul, if you look at his career, his game, he is a transcendent point guard. He
Mhm.
knows how to fluctuate and create the offense, running the
Yep.
system, everything like that. But you also have to understand, Pat Bev said it now, but it has been an issue since he
Yep.
began.
Exactly.
Hornets, Clippers, Rockets,
Clippers was
OKC.
the
I mean,
biggest
or not to be,
example.
I mean, OKC was a little bit of a whatever, but
Yeah.
Suns, he has never been able to
Rockets.
yeah, yeah, Rockets, he's all never been able to produce in the playoffs. Rockets, he had a hamstring injury. Sure, they can say it was an injury, he had nothing to do with it. Yeah, but apparently he always has injuries when he gets to the playoffs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I think Pat Bev's biggest thing was like, oh, Chris Paul is a defensive liability. He is in the aspect of straight up one on one. But if you look at him in the scheme of defensive playing, Chris Paul is still substantial in what he does defensively. But I agree that when you go matched up one on one, which is now what the NBA kind of looks at, and
A lot of
it's
ISO.
not so much of with the defensive scheme. We'll go into how the Celtics are playing, the Heat are playing, which are defensive schematic teams.
Mhm.
But Chris Paul as a player is not someone that you can rely on defensively one on one, especially with a guard who is going to kind of pick up his game playing against you. And I think Pat Bev exactly was right in saying that when people don't sweat it when they know that they're playing Chris Paul the next day.
The reason I said the Lakers, and this is divulging more to why I think that Chris Paul hasn't been successful, is he's not an alpha guy. I mean, you have alpha guys in the league: Luka, Jimmy, LeBron, Tatum, Giannis. These are guys who will carry their teams through the playoffs. They'll make those big plays when they have to. They literally will like drag their team when they have to. And I think that he is not that guy. Like he has never been that guy. When he was with the Clippers, the biggest misconception was that he was going to be that guy, but he wasn't.
Yeah.
I was like him, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan at the time, like when they were all at their peak, all of them were beta guys. You need one alpha guy.
The Warriors played great ball in the first game. That's all I'm going to say. Like the easy way to take it is just they played great ball.
Big warrior ball.
Yeah, 7 players in double figures. I don't think, like Nolan had pointed out, this is where I will agree with you, Nolan, that the Warriors, at least in game 1, were just way too much for the Mavs.
Heat and Celtics, they're at one apiece. We saw Jimmy Butler dominate in game 1 without the X factors of the Celtics, Marcus Smart, Al Horford. But unfortunately for him, Smart did return for game 2,
And
and he
Horford.
did dominate in that game. So, what are your thoughts on the series, Nolan? I'm going to swing it to you first. What's going on? I know you're predicting that the Celtics make it to the finals. I'm hoping that you're wrong so that I'm right.
I foresee Game 3 is going to be a lot more inside game from both teams because the threes are not going to
Right.
be able to, or it's going to be the Heat are covering the Celtics threes, but the Celtics might not be able to cover the Heat's threes as much as. I mean, Butler doesn't shoot that many threes, but at the
Yeah.
same time, you have Hero, you have Lowry coming back. Lowry is a 3-point shooter, so it's going to kind of really depend on how they kind of
And
rotate
the X factor, Duncan Robinson, like you said.
Okay, I was wrong. My bad. All right.
The Heat's lineups are built to play in a half court game. Like I think they have more what is the word? Variety. That's not the word I'm looking for. But more, yeah, I mean the play calls that they can run. I think with the sizes and the differences, like you can use PJ Tucker on a easy screen and roll, or have him sit in the corner. You bring Bam off the high, or you can have easy guards, just like Strus or somebody helping Jimmy out off a screen.
We'll be back around that time to give our thoughts on the rest of the series. We'd like to thank you so much for coming here to check out the Poi N Soy podcast. Nolan, where can the people find you?
You can find me at Nolan KYT, NOLAN KYT, and all my socials, Instagram, Twitter, all the goodies. Thank you guys for tuning in this episode.
Share it on to
And
you.
you can find me at JShirai, JShirai on all the socials as well. Keone?
It's K-O-N-E, Kayouhknee on all the socials. Thank you so much for coming to check us out. If you'd like to hear more about our thoughts on the NBA, anything that you'd like us to discuss, hit us up, give us a comment, give us a subscribe, like, whatever. Thank you for checking it out.
Good vibes and love, everybody.
Bang, bang.
Shoots.
That is going to be a great shirt one day.